we're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms. And we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Back to Upward Look TV. There is a large global effort to develop vaccines for protection against COVID-19, and at least 19 vaccine candidates have, as of the 31st of July 2020, entered clinical trials, including phase 2 and 3 trials. New vaccine production technologies are being used for development of COVID-19 vaccine candidates: whole inactivated virus, life attenuated virus, protein subunit, replicating and non-replicating viral vectors, expressing SARS-CoV-19 proteins, as well as DNA and RNA technologies.
Think about that from the president, making it very clear that he wants schools to reopen, and in fact there could be negative outcomes for those that don't.
Well, one, we should definitely open up the schools, and we need to stop listening to Dr. Fauci, who is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. Stop! And all of your listeners know this, I know this, you know this, we all know this, but Jeffrey Epstein's not a good man, and Bill Gates spent a lot of time with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. Don't! So I don't think we should be listening to a pedophile for how to treat our kids, period. And we shouldn't be listening to people who spend time with pedophiles as it relates to our kids. So if Bill Gates wanted to watch my kids as a babysitter, I wouldn't let him do it. I'm certainly not going to use a vaccine he recommends. And Bill Gates has asked Dr. Fauci to serve on his board for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So listening to Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, they are corrupt individuals, and Bill Gates hangs out with pedophiles consistently. Why would he hang out with Epstein? Why would he do that? It's sick.
Okay. All right. Clay Clark, thank you for coming.
All previous coronavirus vaccine candidates failed in early-stage clinical trials, and none were advanced to licensing. With the current production technologies being used now, such as whole inactivated virus, life attenuated virus, protein subunit, replicating and non-replicating viral vectors, expressing SARS-CoV-19 proteins, as well as DNA and RNA technologies, delivering gene sequences that encode SARS-CoV-19 proteins. Are these things safe for humans? These and many more are unanswered questions of the fears and concerns the world is asking Bill Gates and his foundation.
You mentioned side effects. The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get responses that are pretty high, including the J&J and the Pfizer. And so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are
Bill,
going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data
US
better than I do. But the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where it's just super painful. But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects. The FDA, I think, will do a good job of that, despite the pressure.
Why FDA approval doesn't guarantee drug safety. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is supposed to protect Americans from harmful drugs. But in reality, FDA approval does not guarantee safety. The Big Pharma funds FDA reviews of new drugs, creating a conflict of interest.
How many doses of the vaccine will we need?
Well, none of the vaccines at this point appear like they'll work with a single dose. That was the hope at the very beginning. Maybe one of them, particularly in the second generation, won't surprise us. We hope just two, although in the elderly, sometimes it it takes more. And so making sure we have lots of elderly people in the trial will give us that data.
It seems they want to get rid of the older people first, or what could be their plans?
You've said some more than 7 billion doses. That's what we'll need.
Well, if what you're trying to do is block all the transmission, then you need to get, 70, 80% coverage on a global basis. So that, it's unbelievably big numbers.
Unbelievably big number indeed. Bill Gates loves big numbers, 7 billion people. That's the number he wants to vaccinate. Tell us in the comments section, are you one of the 7 billion who are ready to take his vaccine?
I mean, you're talking about a global vaccination program without a vaccine that hasn't been fully developed yet, and a massive scaling up of how to produce one or several vaccines. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think about this effort.
But the private companies have stepped up. The science has been advanced. The U.S. funds biological research more than any other country. We've stepped up to fund these vaccine manufacturers. The plants are being worked out now. In 2021, there's a good chance this can get done, and because this is about the billions that we need to spend to save trillions and avoid all those deaths.
Did you know that this is a huge investment with lots of profits for Bill Gates? He told CNBC that investing in global health organizations to produce vaccines creates a 20-to-1 return in economic benefit.
Invested $10 billion in vaccinations over the last 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that, and it kind of stunned me. Can you walk us through the math?
Over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
I think the numbers that you ran through were if you had put that money into an S&P 500 and reinvested the dividends, you'd come up with something like $17 billion, but you think it's $200 billion.
Here, yeah.
But who's going to get the vaccine first?
That's in discussion. Clearly, the U.S., by funding factories in the U.S., will get priority. But if we can have other factories, and this is where the U.S. government's traditional generosity in global health will be needed, our foundation will be needed, other countries. We want to make sure that we don't have people dying just because they can't afford to have access to the vaccine. And so that speaks to the top priority of our foundation. And there's good discussions going underway. The U.S. in this next relief bill may put 1% of it to make sure we stop the pandemic in the entire world, and then that'll draw other countries into that effort.
How deadly is this virus that we must take vaccines to stop it? Did you know that out of the 21 million infections globally, about 14 million people have recovered? If these huge numbers have been recovered or treated, what drug was used in the treatment? Why can't we use other solutions, apart from the vaccines? What do you stand to profit, Bill Gates?
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms. And we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
You think about that from the president, making it very clear that he wants schools to reopen, and in fact, there could be negative outcomes for those that don't.
Well, one, we should definitely open up the schools, and we need to stop listening to Dr. Fauci, who is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. And all of your listeners know this, I know this, you know this, we all know this, but Jeffrey Epstein's not a good man, and Bill Gates spent a lot of time with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't think we should be listening to a pedophile for how to treat our kids, period. And we shouldn't be listening to people who spend time with pedophiles as it relates to our kids. So if Bill Gates wanted to watch my kids as a babysitter, I wouldn't let him do it. I'm certainly not going to use a vaccine he recommends. And Bill Gates has asked Dr. Fauci to serve on his board for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So listening to Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci. They are corrupt individuals, and Bill Gates hangs out with pedophiles consistently. Why would he hang out with Epstein? Why would he do that? It's sick.
Okay. All right. Clark, thank you for coming.
Are you concerned about a growing anti-vaccination disinformation campaign that exists on social media?
Yeah, it's always a concern because vaccines are so key to keeping measles deaths down. Vaccines helped us eradicate polio. Vaccines are so important. They've played the primary role in cutting child to death in half over the last 20 years. That our foundation, the U.S. government, have been very involved in that. So explaining how careful we are about vaccine safety is super important. During a pandemic, I can understand people's anxiety levels going up, but explaining what the testing is doing, we will need a lot of people to be willing to take the vaccine to stop the transmission.
Friends, independent and unbiased medical experts have warned over the years that there has never been a safe vaccine, and it is impossible to have a safe vaccine. Girls vaccinated with the DTP vaccine, the flagship of Bill Gates's Gavi, and the World Health Organization African Vaccine Program, died at 10 times the rate of unvaccinated kids.
I have been studying vaccines for the past 3 years of my life when it came up in my professional life. And my current opinion about vaccinations is that they have never been safe. Never has there been a safe vaccine. Never will there be a safe vaccine. And it is not possible to have a safe vaccine.
Thanks for watching. I will be uploading another video soon. Do not forget to subscribe, like and share.